Penalty shootouts can bring out either the best or the worst out of players. In some cases, you could have a player such as Antonin Panenka score a breathtaking penalty to advance your club or nation into the next round, or you could have a Roberto Baggio miss a crucial penalty, knocking you out the tournament. There are also cases where a penalty shootout has lasted for over 30 shooters, while it could take just 6 to end some shootouts. No matter what you think about penalty shootouts, they do bring some incredible suspense and get people to care about teams that they normally don't care for. Number 15, Netherlands versus Brazil, 1998 World Cup semifinal. The Dutch went into the 1998 World Cup semifinal knowing a win would put them into their first World Cup final since 1978. However, they had to deal with a strong Brazilian side who nearly won the match if it weren't for a late goal from Patrick Kluivert. However, after exchanging goals with the Brazilians through the first 2 rounds, both Philip Cocu and Ronald de Boer failed to score on their penalties, meaning Brazil were going to their second straight World Cup final. Number 14, AC Milan versus Juventus, 2003 Champions League final. It was the first time in history that 2 Italian sides met each other in the Champions League final, yet AC Milan and Juventus went scoreless through 120 minutes at Old Trafford, meaning that the final would be decided on penalties. Altogether, 5 of the 10 shooters failed to score, but for AC Milan, they had 3 of those shooters, including Andrei Shevchenko, who scored the final penalty to give Milan their 6th European Cup. Number 13. Italy versus Argentina, 1990, World Cup semifinal. Host Italy went into the 1990 World Cup looking to be the first European host nation to win a World Cup in 16 years. Once Italy got into the semifinal, they faced Diego Maradona and Argentina in Naples. After a 1-1 draw, both sides went to penalties with the winner advancing to the World Cup final. Italians Roberto Donadoni and Aldo Serena failed to score on their penalties, and Maradona put away the decisive penalty to put Argentina in their 3rd World Cup final in the last 4 tournaments. Number 12, Liverpool versus AC Milan, 2005 Champions League final. It was the 2005 Champions League final, and after being down 3-0 in the first half, Liverpool put together 3 second-half goals to tie the match and eventually send it to a penalty shootout. After missing their first 2 kicks, Milan found themselves down 2-0 in the shootout due to goals from Dietmar Hamann and Djibril Cissé. After scoring twice in the next 2 rounds, Milan were down 3-2, needing Andriy Shevchenko, who scored the winning penalty in the 2003 final. However, Shevchenko shot his penalty right down the middle and was saved by Jerzy Dudek, giving Liverpool their 5th European Cup. Number 11, Steaua Bucharest versus Barcelona, 1986 European Cup final. At the time of the 1986 European Cup, Barcelona had yet to win Europe's top prize, but were in position to finally win it in Seville against Romanian side Steaua Bucharest. After a scoreless draw through 120 minutes, penalties were required to find the victor. Unfortunately for Barcelona, they had to face Helmut Dukadam, who stopped all 4 Barcelona shooters to win the European Cup for Steaua Bucharest. Steaua Bucharest is the first and only club from Romania to win either the European Cup or the Champions League. Number 10, Manchester United versus Chelsea, 2008 Champions League final. In the first ever matchup between 2 English sides in a Champions League final, both Manchester United and Chelsea were only able to score 1 goal apiece through 120 minutes, resulting in a penalty shootout. In the 3rd round, Cristiano Ronaldo missed his penalty, giving Chelsea an advantage. In their turn in the 5th round, John Terry slipped on what would have been the winning goal of the shootout, giving Man United new hope. In the 7th round, Nicolas Anelka had his penalty stopped, and Manchester United claimed their 3rd European Cup. Number 9, Czechoslovakia versus West Germany, Euro 1976. In the 1976 European Championships, there were only 4 sides competing in the entire tournament, which meant that each side was only going to get a chance to compete in 2 matches. West Germany and Czechoslovakia went on to win their matches and met in the final. After a 2-2 draw in regulation, Penalties were required to learn who the champion would be. After each side scored on their first 3 attempts, Ulrich Hines missed his penalty after the Czech scored first in their turn in the 4th round. Number 8, Brazil versus Italy, 1994 World Cup Final. It was the 1994 World Cup Final between Italy and Brazil, and it was expected to be fantastic, considering how strong the '94 World Cup was. However, both sides ended up playing to a scoreless draw through 120 minutes, which meant that this would become the first World Cup final in history to go to penalties. Through 4 rounds, Brazil held a 3-2 lead, and Italian Roberto Baggio went up to the spot, knowing he had to score to keep Italy in the shootout. Number 7, Italy versus France, 2006 World Cup Final. The 2006 World Cup Final saw a matchup between rivals Italy and France in Berlin. Following a 1-1 draw and a Zinedine Zidane headbutt, both sides went to a penalty shootout. Neither goalkeeper made a save, but a David Trezeguet penalty hit the crossbar, which proved to be costly for France as the Italians won 5-3 on spot kicks to claim their 4th World Cup. Number 6, Germany versus Argentina, 2006 World Cup quarterfinal. After a 1-1 draw in a memorable quarterfinal, host Germany and Argentina went to penalties in Berlin. In the shootout, German keeper Jens Lehmann stopped 2 penalties after getting a note sheet from a German assistant coach that told the tendencies of the Argentine shooters. Meanwhile, the German shooters kept up their fantastic performance in penalty shootouts with 4 goals on their penalty attempts. Number 5, England versus West Germany, 1990 World Cup semifinal. It was the closest that England has gotten to a World Cup final since 1966, and they had to face their old nemesis West Germany in Turin. After both sides played to a 1-1 draw that saw plenty of drama, England and the Germans met for the first time ever in a penalty shootout. England were able to score on their first 3 penalties, and the Germans also did the same. However, both Stuart Pearce and Chris Waddle missed their penalties, and the Germans advanced onto the final, where they defeated Argentina 1-0. Number 4, France versus Italy, 1998 World Cup quarterfinal. Longtime rivals France and Italy met in Saint-Denis in the quarterfinal of the 1998 World Cup in what was expected to be a thrilling match. However, both sides played to a scoreless draw, causing the penalty shootout. In the 5th round, current French manager Laurent Blanc scored, while Italian Luigi Di Biagio hit the crossbar, giving France a win on their way to their first World Cup title. Number 3, Cameroon versus Ivory Coast, 2006 African Cup of Nations quarterfinal. In the quarterfinal of the 2006 African Cup of Nations, both Cameroon and the Ivory Coast played to a 1-1 draw, causing a penalty shootout. Through the first 22 shooters, each player on the pitch managed to score once. But in his second attempt, Samuel Eto'o missed his penalty, which allowed Didier Drogba to score the winning penalty to advance the Ivory Coast into the semifinal. Number 2, Olympiacos versus AEK Athens, 2009 Greek Cup final. In the 2009 Greek Cup final, we saw one of the longest penalty shootout in history between Greek rivals Olympiacos and AEK Athens. After a 4-4 draw, an incredible 29 shooters scored through 34 penalty kicks. The winning kick came from Olympiacos goalkeeper Antonis Nikopolidis in the 17th round of penalties after Athens midfielder Agustin Pelletieri failed to score earlier in the round. Number 1, Uruguay versus Ghana, 2010 World Cup quarterfinal. It was the most memorable match of the 2010 World Cup, and a match that no one who watched will ever forget. After a tie through 120 minutes, Luis Suarez handled a ball off the goal line, resulting in a red card for Suarez and a chance for Ghana to win and become the first African nation to ever reach a World Cup semi-final. However, Asamoah Gyan hit his penalty off the crossbar, causing the match to go to penalties. After both sides went through the first two rounds with 2 goals apiece, Ghana failed to score on their next 2 chances, which was also coupled by a Uruguay miss. In the 5th round, Sebastian Gallo went up to the penalty spot and exquisitely chipped the football in, sending Uruguay into the semi-final while Ghana had to go home with a bitter pill to swallow. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel if you like this video so you may see more interesting adventure in places. We appreciate your interest and hope to see you on the next one.